Good morning, lovelies. It's so exciting to go live with you guys. It's been quite a while since I've gone live, and I miss you guys, and I hope you're all doing well. And I just figured I'd start my lives up on Tuesdays as I've been doing before. We've had a little bit of a hiatus through the holiday period, and we're back. We're back for 2024. And, I just wanted to share yesterday, I work part-time at a grocery store, and it's really a way for me to have connection with others, being new to Texas. And I am overjoyed with the people that I've met. I have met some really, truly wonderful people, a gentleman by the name of Clint, and also another lady, Lisa, here that are healing from some toxic relationships. And it's been very heartwarming for me to be able to have some vulnerable conversations with those two individuals. And my heart is overjoyed for Clint and Lisa, so thank you very much. And I have a whole bunch of other people that I work with at the grocery store, and a lot of them are students and other professional people. And I'm overjoyed too to be able to have wonderful conversations. And because it's been so cold in Texas, today we're at 16 degrees and yesterday it was 13. There's been a lot more opportunities to be able to learn more about each other these last few days, as there weren't so many people in the grocery store and we weren't having to run out to deliver groceries as much of that. But yesterday I was able to talk with a really wonderful gal, Emma, and she actually wants to go into the Air Force, and she's doing a lot of coursework in psychology. And she really wants to go into forensic psychology, which I was like, wow, that's like going to be an awesome conversation. And over a few hours, I was really able to get to know her. And she has aspirations to go into the Air Force, and she's kind of got this. She's already been talking to recruiters, and she'll go in as an officer. And I was just really excited to be able to have the depth of conversation around psychology and mental health awareness. And this led to a whole conversation around taking accountability and being responsible. And we had a whole conversation about narcissistic abuse, psychopathy. We shared a lot of resources. We were able to talk very in depth about what it takes to heal from narcissistic abuse, and also healing from having childhood programming to how it set us up to make choices with romantic partners. And, there's just a really big piece about taking responsibility and being accountable for you in all of this healing. And there really has to be a shift from being the victim in whatever capacity that, you have been a victim in narcissistic abuse. But there also has to be some responsibility and accountability to yourself to learn and grow. And we were talking about, I was really wondering, what's the percentage of women who actually heal and move forward in their life after having a lifetime of dealing with toxic people and not understanding the pattern? And she said that for the 50 plus woman that, maybe 10 years ago, there was 2 to 3%. It's very low for the amount of women who don't repeat the pattern after they've learned about the pattern and have developed new skill sets in life, like being assertive, setting boundaries, communicating, and also embodying all of those different elements of growth when they're out with people, and who's in their inner circle and how they interact. And she said, for like the 40 plus woman, like 10 years ago, it was like 2 to 3% of those women who actually integrate a new concept of self and was able to integrate a lot of growth and skill sets to be able to move beyond their own conditioning. And she said, but that's been shifting. And I've been so fascinated by this because I've never been able to find the data with this, and I'm a research nut. So she was just saying that, in the past, there's been 2 to 3%. It's very low for women who are able to grow beyond these type of childhood conditioning and repetitive pattern, but it is possible. And she said that's growing. Like now it's like 10 to 13%. And I think that's wonderful. And I hope that continues to grow as there's more mental health awareness, that we actually can integrate new skill sets and be different and have self-agency and self-awareness and be able to understand and grow beyond what our childhood conditioning is. And she was just saying that the number one thing is accountability for and taking responsibility for what's happened, and again, we've been in relationship with other people. We have our own dynamic that we need to evolve around, but there also was the toxic personalities that we've been in relationship with, and understanding that a lot of times that does come from trauma in childhood, that narcissistic tendencies and personality disorders are a result both of biological as well as environmental, and putting on a whole lifetime of that really comes from trauma, that those type of individuals, that comes from trauma. And also the way that we've been in relationship comes from trauma as well. If we're more codependent, and we also come from a place of fawning and freezing and not being the aggressor, that we tend to befriend and friend people, and we fawn when we get into conflict. So we have to learn new skills to be able to overcome our own trauma, that there's both a biological and a trauma component to cluster B personality disorders. But there's also accountability and responsibility for what we've learned and how we've been conditioned, and that the brain is has so much neuroplasticity that we can adapt and we can rewire our brain as well. So the number one thing for all of us is taking accountability and responsibility for our actions and how we show up in all of this. That we need to move beyond being the victim or blame shift or thinking that there's going to be a white knight in shining armor that's going to show up to rescue us, that we actually are our own rescuer. And we need to take accountability and responsibility for that in our life, that we have responsibility for our actions, the choices that we make, and the outcomes that they generate based on all of that. And when we're in this cycle of healing, that there's a lot of trial and error. And, it's kind of like a big experiment. And, I'm a researcher, and, I did aspire to become a dentist, and I took a lot of pre-med courses in college. And, for me, life is just one big experiment. And, we get an opportunity every single day with all the people that we interact with. We can try things on. And, especially being new to Texas, nobody really knows me here. They don't know what I look like. They don't know what the standard Denise is. And so I can practice every single day how I show up. It's in a big experiment. So if I take one action or I make a choice and it doesn't go the way I want it to, and I can go ahead and shift that the next day. And that's all part of rewiring. and taking responsibility and taking accountability for my life. So I'm taking responsibility for actions and my choices and the outcomes that they generate. And we have to remember that our main driver is us, that we make our own decisions and we get to reap the consequences, both positive and negative. And negative outcomes really lead to major learning in our life. And, think about all the things that, if I think about in my life, the biggest life lessons have come when I've had my biggest failures. And, they really taught me. So I have a different paradigm about negative consequences. And so you either get what you want or you learn. And I think that, in these years after healing from narcissistic abuse or divorce or separation or a life shift, that we have that ability to learn from negative consequences. If an interaction didn't go well with a person, taking that all back and figuring out how we can do that differently. And that really helps us to understand our nervous system. It helps us to understand our brain. It helps us to learn our trauma responses. I remember for myself, when I get in relationship with very aggressive, controlling men or women, that I have a tendency to shut down. And I just go into a fawn response. And, for me, when over the last few years, I've had to really dial that back and put myself in situations where I am going to be around controlling, antagonistic people. And the first few times it didn't go well. I'm like, how come I wasn't able to do that, put my boundary up and set my boundary and be assertive with all of that. And, it was kind of like I had to put gas. I had to kind of move through that. There would be stops and starts. There would be times when I tried to get words out and then the words wouldn't come. And so I had to work through that layer by layer to be able to now I can assert myself in situations where there's an antagonistic, aggressive person. And I don't take that personally anymore. But that took years and layers and working through all that. It wasn't a flip the switch kind of deal. And so our decisions and how we operate really outline consequences, either positive or negative, for how we show up. And, when we're accountable and responsible to ourselves, we have to be honest about who we are, where we struggle, and where we have strengths. And we have to acknowledge our mistakes and where we fall down and pick ourselves back up. Nobody else is going to do that. We have to do that for ourselves. And we have to actively, layer by layer, work through personal development and improvement. So that means there's 5 things that go into taking responsibility and being accountable. And the first one is we have to take ownership. And that means that we have control. Ownership means that we have control about our own choices and our own behaviors, and acknowledging that we played a role in the outcomes. Now, in healing from narcissistic abuse, we did play a role. I did play a role. I know that I was codependent. There were things that I didn't know how to escalate communication, and I didn't know how to set consequences. And I, in healing, take responsibility that I did play a role, and I didn't understand my worthiness, and I didn't know how to be assertive and set boundaries and communicate. And so I stayed very long, 13 years too long, in a toxic relationship. And I take ownership for that. And it is hard sometimes to take ownership, but I understand why I stayed also. So number 1 is taking ownership in your life. Number 2 is transparency. Being open and truthful with yourself, especially when it comes to your intentions, your actions, and your impact on yourself and others. That not everything happens in a vacuum. It's not just always about the other person. Like, how did I show up in this situation? And how did I create stress? Or how did I, put a wall up between me and this other person? We just have to be really transparent with ourselves. And again, that means sometimes doing shadow work with all of this and just being very transparent with ourselves, open and truthful about how we showed up with all of that too. So number 2 is transparency. And the third one is we learn by making mistakes. So setbacks, as I've talked before, setbacks are opportunities for growing and learning and evolving and improving. And they're not really failures. And I think that's a really big paradigm that we need to shift. That we need to shift from looking at, I'm bad if I made this mistake, when really we're just getting more data. We're getting more data for how we can shift and tweak and improve whatever it is going on. And we get to embrace doing that again. Like whatever situation that happened, we use it as a science, like a data. We had an experiment where we had all these controls. We had this person, we had myself, we had stress, we had, whatever situation. And when I'm going to go into the next situation with those type of dynamics, then I can do better. When I know better, I can do better. So we have to shift that paradigm that making mistakes is actually okay. So number 3, learning from mistakes. Number 4 is a commitment. It's dedicating ourselves to our goals and our values and the promises that we make to ourselves every single day, that I know that there's a consistency of who I am as a person. I know what my values are. I know what my goals are, and I'm learning more and more about those and the promises that I make to myself every single day to do the best that I can. So number 4 is making a commitment to yourself, to put yourself as a priority. And I know that can be very difficult at times. Us type of people, we tend to put others first. And it's very hard sometimes to be able to say, hey, and I say this to myself all the time, hey, Denise, what is it that you want to do and how do you show up? You do not have to settle for bad behavior, and you don't have to settle for whatever this other person is trying to set in front of me or baiting me to go down this like bad behavior path. I get to really commit to my values and my beliefs and how I believe people should be treated and how I want to act. And every single day I commit to my advocacy and who I am as a person. And again, my goals, my values, and my beliefs. I get to do life the way that I want to, and we get to commit to that. So 4 is commitment. And the 5th principle around being accountable is self-reflection. And, every interaction, can be evaluating how I played a role in this situation and the decisions that I made, and considering how they align with our values. If we're aligned with our values and our beliefs, and we have that self-reflection, more times than not, recently, I'm like, yes, Denise did awesome today. And, I'm getting more and more alignment with how I am as a person and all these layers of self-development that I've done. And so self-reflection just means that on a regular basis, we're taking that ownership and that transparency and learning from our mistakes. And we're reevaluating our actions and our decisions. And we're considering how they align with our values and making adjustments as needed. So those 5 things: ownership, transparency, learning from our mistakes, commitment, and self-reflection are the main things that really help us to be accountable. And we have that capability to live our life exactly how we want to, loving ourselves, taking care of ourselves with self-care, and personal development. All 3 of those things play into the role of us taking accountability and responsibility for our life. And When we take ownership with our life, that really means that we are writing our second book of life exactly to our own specifications. And we are fostering a sense of control. We're fostering purpose in our life and alignment with our own values. And we can create that positive change in our own life and all of the other people that we are in relationship with, whether that's our inner circle, our family, the other people that we may meet on the street, that we have that ability to push out our vibe and really impact all of those people that we come into contact with. And again, a focus on personal development really builds a sense of resilience and again, helps us to achieve long-term success. And so I just wanted to take a moment today, and I asked you all to bring in a mirror where, that's what I look like behind the camera here today. Mirror work is very important on this journey to really connect with yourself and look yourself in the eyes and really understand who you are. And mirror work really helps you to do that. And I've been a really big proponent of self-mirror work to know what I look like when I'm angry and when I'm sad and who I am as a person. And so today, I'm just asking that you embark upon a accountability pledge with me. And you might have different words for it. It could be a mantra. You could use that on a day-to-day basis. It could be a promise to yourself. It could be a vow that you take to yourself. And I really want you, if you don't have a mirror, please go out and buy one. This is an incredible self-development tool, especially after narcissistic abuse, divorce, trauma, and life shifts. This can be a very powerful tool for you to get in touch with yourself. And so if you don't have a mirror like this, I ask that you go this week and go purchase a mirror. It's going to be very helpful to you to connect with your inner self and to just really align with who you are as a person through your eyes. The eyes are the heart of the soul. And a lot of times we just don't have that inner connection to ourselves. And for me over this last year, being a coach out here and doing videos, it's been very powerful. It's been very powerful for me to have this growth. So mirror work can really be at the essence of all of this deep work. And I thank everybody for watching these videos. As I become more aligned with who I am as a person. So I hope this can be a real powerful tool for you as well. And I just am very passionate about other people aligning and knowing who they are as a person, because this is a really hard journey. So with all of that is take your mirror and we're gonna embark upon an accountability mantra that we can foster that self-empowerment and that accountability and taking responsibility for our life. And so I want you to, with your mirror, take up your mirror, do it with me. Really look at yourself to see how beautiful you are, to see the light in your eyes, to really see that strength and that powerfulness and that lovely person that is inside of you. And just really take this moment to see the color of your eyes and your expression. And it may bring up tears, and that's okay. And you're so beautiful and vulnerable and fragile in a good way. Fragile, something that is beautiful to look at and aspire to be, like a museum piece. And I don't know, when I see beauty, a lot of times it brings tears to me because it's an incredible creative element that we're one of a kind. We are snowflakes out there, and we're beauty to be embodied. And people have the privilege of being in our life when we're taking boundaries and really setting all of that in place, when we're assertive, setting boundaries and communicating and knowing our worth. Like, we're a privilege to be in connection with when we've done this work. And it doesn't matter if you're just starting or if you've been doing it a few years, but it's a privilege to be in my life, to be in my inner circle. And that's what we get from looking at ourselves, to connecting with ourselves. So take that moment, take those couple minutes a day to really look at yourself, to do this mirror work. And so I'm going to ask you to say along with me this accountability pledge, this vow, this promise to yourself. And so you can repeat after me. The first one is, I am accountable for my own choices and my own actions in life. I'm accountable for my own choices and my own actions in my life. That's the first one. The second one is, I am accountable for how I think, for how I respond, and how I behave. My mindset shapes my reality, my responses define my character, and my behavior influences my journey. So the second one, I'll repeat that again. I am accountable for how I think, for how I respond, and how I behave. My mindset shapes my reality, my responses define my character, and my behavior influences my journey. The third one, I am accountable for how I treat my body, from sleep routines and movement to nutrition choices. I commit to nurturing my physical well-being. A well-cared for body is the foundation of a thriving life. So the third one again is, I'm accountable for how I treat my body, from sleep routines and movement to nutrition choices. I commit to nurturing my physical well-being. A well-cared for body is the foundation of a thriving life. The fourth one, I'm accountable for the people in my inner circle. I pledge to nurture relationships with respect, empathy, and support. My connections are a reflection of the positive energy I contribute to the world. And again, the fourth one, I'm accountable for the people in my inner circle. I pledge to nurture relationships with respect, empathy, and support. My connections are a reflection of the positive energy that I contribute to the world. The fifth one, I own the outcomes, both successes and setbacks. The fifth one, I own the outcomes, both successes and setbacks. The sixth part of this pledge is, I learn and grow from every experience. I learn and grow from every experience. The seventh one, I commit to being transparent and true to myself. I commit to being transparent and true to myself. And the eighth and last one is, I'm the author of my life. I shape my destiny. And these 8 powerful steps to this pledge or vow or commitment to yourself for accountability can be a very powerful mirror exercise that you do with yourself every single day. It can be part of your morning routine. So say these words daily in your mirror for 14 days. And I would love to hear what it is that you're thinking and feeling and sensing when you do those things. So I will put those in the comments below. And again, go ahead and try that out. And it really is all about taking accountability and responsibility for your life. No one else is going to save you. You're not a victim. You can put all these pieces of your life back together. They're layers. And you can learn and grow and make a beautiful second book of life, embarking upon self-love, personal development, and taking really good radical self-care of yourself. So it's all about accountability and taking responsibility for you being your own true love. And so if you do this mantra for 14 days, I would love to hear how you're feeling about yourself and how that is facilitating a connection with your inner self. So have a super great day today. Thank you for carrying on the conversation and having this conversation. I look forward to continuing the conversation in future videos. And yeah, have a super great day. And I look forward to talking with you again. Take care. Bye-bye.